right, welcome here, Pluto 2025 and beyond. I'm sort of excited and a little, a little heartbeat about this one because it's such a big movement. And when I was preparing this, it was like I could go on and talk about this for like 3 hours. So try to like squeeze it down into something that will make sense to, which I hope it will. I hope it will inspire you to find out more, and also to realize that this is a very big thing that is going on, and being here right now is, even if it's challenging, it's a privilege in many ways. A lot of the things that I'm going to talk about we will not be able to see because they're like way ahead in time. But we're here, and this is happening right now. If you have not watched my previous one, the Pivotal 2025, please do. It will give you some information that will make this put into context. And on the 3rd of December, I will have another one where I talk about retrogrades. More on that later. So today is the day of Pluto, or rather 19th of November was the day of Pluto. But I do Western tropical astrology, and my take on it is with the whole house system. There are many house systems, like over 30. They all work in different ways, depends on how you want to see it. But for me, it's very much about the nature of patterns in nature, the nature of patterns in nature, which sort of gets distorted by other house systems. So I really felt, I started out in another one in Placidus, which was like interesting. But this was really felt like it felt into place on how nature works. And I do a mix of ancient and modern techniques. I use the modern planets, and Pluto is a modern planet. And that doesn't mean that it wasn't there like thousands and thousands and millions of years ago. It was, but it was not discovered until in the 1930s. So we have an agenda. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff here. So we're first going to talk about the Great Conjunction and what that is. We're going to talk about air signs, and also, of course, about Aquarius. Some historic innovations related to these cycles. We're going to talk about Pluto. I'm going to show you some charts, some modern innovations that are related to Pluto and the Aquarian Great Conjunction, and also the upcoming retrogrades of 2025. I'll just tell you about the dates. And then my Black Friday offer. So stay until the end, because if you want to know more about how this is actually affecting your future, book a time with me, because there is so much to say depending on how it plays out in your chart. But so let's go on with it. The cosmic reset, December 20th, 21st, 2020. You see those two beautiful stars there to the right? Those are not stars, those are planets. That's Jupiter and Saturn coming together. And this screenshot is from an image by Kevin Saragotsa from Wikipedia, so you can find it there. But I just thought it's just so beautiful how you can see how they're like really close, and it's also rare that they are so close as they were this time. Jupiter and Saturn both rule 2 signs each, and I have not seen this having this been said by any other astrologers. Of course, I look into my colleagues and see what they do, and I learn a lot and I get inspired. But this is something that I have been thinking about, which is that they both rule 2 planets, and it's each in fire, water, earth, and air. And Jupiter stands for certain things and Saturn for others. So when we talk about Jupiter, we usually talk about justice and philosophy and belief systems, higher education, long distance travel, learning new languages. It's like optimism and expansion and generosity and abundance and wisdom. It's like, it's the great benefit, all good. And then we have Saturn, and Saturn is usually like its rules, its boundaries, its structure, its time, its karma, you sow and you reap. It's demands, discipline, fear, perfection, rewards, because if you do the work, you will get the rewards. So they can look like they're like working in different directions, going in different directions. And Saturn is usually called the Great Malefic. But as you probably can see, one is actually dependent on the other. If you have philosophy, if you think about philosophy, that usually includes something that has to do about boundaries and structure and sow and reap. I think that's very close to that. If you talk about higher education, there are rules that you have to like go for and then abide to be able to get, for instance, a certification of some sort, or get a degree. There are demands for a higher education. If you have rules, it might be easier to be optimistic about how to use things and where to go. It's easier to get goals. So I really think they work together. And Saturn is my chart ruler, which means it's a very, very important part of my life. And I would not have survived my childhood without Saturn. I really, really needed the demands and the discipline to be able to move through those challenging times of mine. So it's not that it's all bad. It's like, how do you use and how do the planets come to your aid? Because in my world, all the planets are for your benefit. It's a question of how to use them and how to listen to them and what kind of challenges they are giving you, so you can come out as much of you as possible. So the air signs, because Aquarius is an air sign, are about mind and process, thoughts, communication, ideas, innovation, choices. They're intellectual. There's like this space, technology, visions. The way they relate comes from here. It's not that they're heartless in no way whatsoever, but it's a lot of brain, it's a lot of thought, it's a lot of intellectual communication about things. It's curiosity, finding out things. Though these are like the big overall picture of the air signs. Then, because I'm not going to sit here forever and talk to you, if we go and take a closer look at Aquarius, we see the waves, and I'll start from below. It says waves are vibrations. So the waves are not water, because most people say, well, it's water. Why is it an air sign? Because waves are vibrations. It could be water, but just as well it can be air. Everything is vibration. We know that there are no real solid things. If I knock on my desk here, it sounds solid, but we know that in reality, when we like go deep down into the smallest parts of it, it's all vibration. It's all vibration. We are vibrations. Everything is vibration. So there are no solid things. And it's also about the technological innovation of bearing water from the lake, creating a container, putting water into it, and then taking it to where you can use it. Instead of having to go down to the lake or the sea or the well, you can carry it. But what I also learned recently, another way to look at it, one more way to look at it, is that it is also the clouds in the air that gather water, and when it's time, it will pour down. And that's in this image that I created. You can see how the water is going down into the bucket. So the Aquarius spirit, or the Aquarian way of being, is very much about higher truth and purpose. It's the collective above the individual. But it's also about you in the collective. And part of that can make it feel lonely, because you're so immersed into the collective and doing what is right and good for the collective, that you sort of feel this, like you're leaving yourself out. And that way, Aquarian people can feel a little aloof sometimes, be experienced at sort of, I don't know if cold is the right word. I have lovely Aquarians around me, so that's not the thing. But when you first get in touch with them, they might feel like they're not really like so easy to get close to. But they are so, I would say, they want the best for the collective, and thereby they might forget about themselves. So they be secondhand. So they might feel like outside, even if they are in a collective in which they're working. They have a strong sense of duty for the collective. And here comes Saturn. I will talk about this later. Here comes a very Saturnian vibe into Aquarius, because they're also very visionary, and that is a very Uranian vibe for the Aquarian. So Aquarius, the water bearer, is where Pluto is now inside. It's here in this vibration. And when we talk about Pluto, you have to like see what does the energy of Pluto do with the atmosphere around Aquarius. And it also depends on, of course, in what house you have your Aquarius. Is it going to be about your family, your roots, where you're coming from? Is it going to be about your career? Is it going to be more about your internal work and who you are when people don't see you? Or is it going to be about whom are you presenting to the world? What's your door in and out of your persona? So therefore, I say again that it's a good thing to know what these pivotal movements in the sky will do for you in your personal chart. So Saturn and Uranus rule Aquarius together. And you could feel, I talked about Saturn just a couple of minutes ago, but Uranus is the planet of rebellion. It's the planet of electricity, of explosive, new, innovative thoughts, of looking ahead, of doing things differently, of going your own way and be not caring about, I mean, it's not about being careless, but like there are consequences, but this has to be done. And I want to go in this direction. So if you have an Aquarius, a strong Aquarius house, it could feel like you have like a pendulum that swings between these two energies. And sometimes it can be like, oh my God, where am I? I feel completely out of sync with life, with everyone, and you have all these ideas and everything. And then suddenly you feel like, okay, I have to like structure this and this. How do I get this going? What is this? So in this, that I was saying just a few minutes ago, that you can like, if you have a strong Aquarian vibe within you, or like if you are an Aquarian with like the sun or the moon or the ascendant in Aquarius, perhaps you feel out of sync at times, and perhaps your life moves in Saturn in 7 or 14-year-old cycles that can feel like it moves, because Saturn is the 7-year, 14-year cycle. It again depends on your chart. So it could be that you feel that you're like moving back and forth with this. I don't have like a strong Aquarian house, but I can most definitely feel this pendulum back and forth, and also depending on where your planets are placed, because my planets are not placed in Aquarius, they're placed in other places, and that also creates an influx of energies into your Aquarian house. So it could be the out of sync feeling, but it could also be that when you have had all these revolutionary, interesting, out of the box thoughts and ideas, and people just do not understand what you're talking about, and why is she this way, and why is he behaving that way, and what is this? And then suddenly it's like my time has come. And I think that that's where we're moving into that, because of what happened in 1980. I must admit that I don't know exactly. No, right, this is just the image of the chart where you see how Jupiter and Saturn are together. This was on the 21st. I just wanted to show you the chart so you can see that this is what it looks like in a chart in Aquarius. I always use a Malmö-based chart because I'm in Malmö, in Sweden. So it doesn't look like this in other parts of the world. It always depends on what kind of chart you decide to use. Now, the Great Conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degrees Aquarius set off a new cycle so many different ways. It changed our lives forever. It changed the world forever. And I know I made a video very early on, I think it was in January or if it was in February, where I said there will not be no going back to normal. We have moved out of what we had. We're going into something completely new. And what happened then in December is that it started a new cycle of 20 years, and at the same time a new cycle of about 200 years, and at the same time a new cycle of 800 years, all simultaneously. So this is really a question of a humanitarian shift for generations to come. What we do and say now is affecting the world, not only when we are here today, not only over the 20 years that Pluto will be in Aquarius, and we will have, in 20 years, we will have the next Great Conjunction in another air sign. But it will change for generations, hundreds of years to come. This is initiating new potentials for innovations and ideas, how we communicate, how we think, our values will change. They will get a more Aran, and as where we are now, a more Aquarian way of thinking, of being. So, when I was doing this research, I ran into this amazing woman that I had never heard of, Christine de Ritzan. She was born in September 1364. And why do I bring this up? Because the last time we had the grand mutation into air, which after 200 years, that's called the grand mutation, and then when you go into like a new element, the element of air was entered. Aquarius would enter the first entry into a cycle of 200 years of air dominance. This is the first time since 1226. That was the initiation of the Renaissance, and we are still living in the vibration of that period. It is still affecting us. So the Renaissance started in the 1300s, about, and lasted until about the 1600s, about. But this woman, she wrote a book, and I had no idea, which is now considered the first feminist book about women and how women live. I don't remember the name of the book right now. The book of Ladies in the City, I think it was. I will research that more, and I will most definitely post something on my app about her, most definitely. So her father was an astrologer, and she was born in Italy. And he got a position at the court in France. And she became the first female writer, author in Europe. She wrote several books, and she was a court writer. She was working at the court as a woman. It's an amazing story. But this shows that something shifted here, something happened. And she was born in September here. And so I was looking into that time, and I thought, yeah, she is most likely born in the later part of September, because then she was born into Virgo. And at the same time, Jupiter and Saturn were in, Libra, were in Libra at that time. And I was like, yeah, this is a great start of new way of thinking and initiating a completely new era in life that changed the trajectory of the Western world forever. This is another great innovation. Johannes Gutenberg was born around the 1400s, died February 3rd, 1468. Around 1440, he invented something or released to the world the printing press. It was a completely new way. It was a revolutionary way of spreading information, air. Jupiter, the expansive, optimistic, higher education Jupiter, was in Aquarius. And Uranus, the co-ruler of Aquarius, was in Gemini. So they were like dancing in and out of these signs. The printing press, this huge technological innovation in communications, came to the people. How Aquarian is that? People that had not been able to read, because printing was something that, it was actually invented by the Chinese. But they would carve out wooden blocks, and that was the printing. What happened with the printing press is that they would create letters on metal, and they could move them around, and then they could print something. So it was much easier and more efficient, and you could reuse those types, as they were called, many times, and just rearrange it. It was an incredible day. And we are here, standing on those shoulders. You and I would not be sitting here had it not been for this innovation, because it opened higher education to the masses. Now, if we talk about Earth, because we have just left 200 years in Earth signs, And this painting by the painter Rosa Bonheur, also French, the plower in Nivernais, I think that is how you, I do speak some French, I think that's how you pronounce it, was painted in 1849. On the 25th of January 1842, the first time a great conjunction happened in Earth, in Capricorn, happened on that very day. Just 5 years later, Rosa Bonheur painted this painting. And for us, it's like, yeah, what? Cows, ox, and? This was a completely new way of doing something like this. I mean, they're just painting farmers? Why? What is this? And I have not seen this painting live, but I have studied it online, and it's like, it's amazing. I mean, you can almost smell, you can touch, you can feel, you can taste the earth. You can see the expressions of the faces of the cows. Animals were her thing. And also, she was a revolutionary as a painter in itself, because she was a woman, and she painted things and in sizes that women were not supposed to do. Women were supposed to paint miniatures, and these were like 5 meters broad and 2.5 meters high. It was like enormous paintings, really substantial, physical, earthbound, and very material. So with this, I also want to say that when a new cycle starts, new ways of doing things start to come out to the people, and we see innovative ways of doing things. So this was really innovative in her times. But if we now talk about Pluto and go to what this is about, it's like Pluto is the lord of the underworld. Not so much fun. It's the lord of underground resources like oil, coal, gas, minerals, etc. And these last 200 years have been so much about oil and gas, about material stuff, about money, about structures, about setting down, this is how it's done, da, da, da. So it has been so, everything that has to do with the material has been rising up, has been so important. We're completely mesmerized and hypnotized by stuff. We are moving away from that, I am absolutely sure. But what Pluto also does, it reveals secrets. It goes down into what needs to be revealed. It's going to expose what you want to avoid, what you have within you that you want to avoid, and what society has within it that it wants to avoid. And the society is always comprised of individuals. That is very Aquarian. It can be absolutely obsessive about what it wants to reveal, because, as I said, the planets are always on your side. And if there is something that you need to take care of and need to uproot, Pluto will go there and help you do that. It's usually painful. Sorry. So it will help you create the death of something. And if you don't do it, there will be eternal suffering. And this is where the idea of hell is. It was long before Christianity. Hell existed. So the Christian idea of hell is not something that was invented by Christianity. This is hell. Pluto is the lord of the underworld, and what you don't want to deal with. And if you don't deal with it, there will be eternal suffering. And if you were a bad person and you died and you hadn't done what you were supposed to do, Pluto would torture you forever. But the thing is that if you do deal with what you need to deal with, Pluto is transformative. It's not that it's going to help you transform by itself. You've got to do what needs to be done. But it is transformative. And therefore, we also talk about Pluto as rising from the ashes, as the phoenix that comes up from what had to die. And it's a force of life. It's a force of growth. It's a force of finding your true essence, to be a truth seeker, which are like, that's so, if I say, positive ways of looking at Pluto. And it will force you to rise like the phoenix. Like it or not, if you do the work, It will reward you that way. There's no other way, because this is what Pluto wants for you. This is what Pluto wants for our society. It takes 12 to 32 years for Pluto to travel one sign. So it stayed for 14 years in Capricorn. Those of us that have a dense Capricornian energy in our charts, like the sun, the moon, or the rising, we have had quite a challenging time for the last 14 years, I would say. And now it has moved in to the next sign. So now it's growing. It was like 12 years, I think, or was that 12 years in Scorpio? I don't remember. And then Sagittarius, and there was 14 years in Capricorn. Now it's going to be 20 years in I was going to say Uranus in Aquarius, and then it will move on, and so it will be like longer and longer periods until it reaches 32, and then it backs down again. So it is a slow, thorough process for Pluto to move around. It takes 248 years for Pluto to move around the whole zodiac. Now, let's talk about what happened in the 80s. The Great Conjunction happened in an air sign, in Libra. And as you can see, Pluto was there at the same time. It made its ingress into Libra in 1972. Internet was born in the 80s. And we know that internet completely changed our world. We would not sit here together now if it had not been for the internet. And we would not sit here now if it had not been for the Great Conjunction in air, supported and expanded by Pluto. So what happened then? Well, then it backed back into a Earth sign. But eventually it went out into air again, and that's what we're going to talk about. But when it came in the 3rd of January, Pluto moved into, in 2008, Pluto moved into Capricorn. And this is when finance broke down. The structures of finance were like completely shook. And there has been a lot of fight here and trying to keep it in the way it is. But on the 3rd of January 2009, Bitcoin was created. And what happened then? It was like, this is fake money. What is this? This is just weird. This cannot be real. But we have to remember that paper money was also fake when it came. It was invented by the Chinese, by the way. So paper money was a great invention. It was a technological invention. You give me this gold, I give you a piece of paper that says this much gold. You will get this much gold when I get this paper. So today we find, paper money is real money. It's the real stuff. So Bitcoin is air money. And air money is here to stay. And you can see in this big circle here that Pluto is like 1 degree into Capricorn. Structure, earthy, money, how life is built and what we can rely on. It's very Capricornian. Monetary issues, very Capricornian. We can also see that Jupiter is up there, and Jupiter expands things. So for me, it's like, okay, this is something that will most probably grow, and it's in the anorectic degree, which is the last degree, which can be shaking things up, and it's like it wants to move on, but it's staying there and doing its last bit of what needs to be done. So this is what happened in 2009. If we now move forward to March 23rd, 2023, this is the first time Pluto moves into Aquarius. This is when AI explodes into the world. And I have made a blue line, which is a sextile between the Sun and Pluto. And for me, that is the air is igniting the fire, so they are working together, and it's in Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac, which is going ahead, taking new initiatives. And even if Mercury is far away from Pluto, but it is very close to the Sun. So there's something here about communication. There's something here that makes communication explode into the world, and the way I see it is the closeness between Mercury and the Sun, and then the Sun's relationship to Pluto here. So we can always see that in the charts, they work together. Something is going on, or many things are going on in the chart that make them communicate, and that is what creates the vibe. So it's not a question of just looking at this is Pluto is doing this, and therefore it's like Pluto is doing this, and what happens around Pluto, and how does this how should I say that, give energy to that point, which is the point where the Sun, sorry, the Great Conjunction happened. So when Pluto came in there at 0 degrees, the vibration of the Great Conjunction was still there. It's still there. So whenever something goes there, that the Great Conjunction came there and initiated something that Pluto is now expanding and making bigger and digging into. So if we talk about new innovations, drones have been around for a while. I remember some years ago when I saw, I don't know what African country it was, but how they would use drones to make it easier to distribute medicine and things like that, because sometimes they were not like rideable roads for cars. So that was, and I thought, wow, that's brilliant. I did not think in these ways, and I had not started with astrology then, so it's quite some time ago. But what has happened now is that drones are part of war, and Pluto is very connected with war. It's used in reconnaissance, dropping bombs, carrying aid, leaving messages. It's a huge player, and it has changed war forever. Just as when Pluto was discovered, it changed war forever, because then the atomic bomb was created. That is what happened at that time. So again, Pluto is involved in the creating of destructiveness, the eternal hell, that we can do something about. That's all our responsibility. It's not a question of, oh, Pluto is so bad, it's gonna... No, this is up to us. But we need to be aware that this is going on. And I therefore also think it's important to know what is happening within me with this Pluto. Am I going to take responsibility for my own Plutonian vibe and energy? What is hidden here that could be a drone at war, or could be the force of the phoenix rising and creating something new and magical? So let's talk about new and magical. AI aiding disabilities and more. This picture was in 2023, it was like all over the internet, of this man who was in a wheelchair, could not walk, and thanks to some implants in his brain, they could help the brain rehabilitate his capacity to walk. So, okay, there can be like destructive things about this, but look at what can happen, how it can really help people, help the world, make things so much better. And it's very Aryan, it's very much new innovations, Aries, I mean going in new directions with air, the fire and the air going together and exploding into new fantastic things. So it helps people talk, it helps people see. So there's just so many new things that we have no idea what's going to happen, but it's going to be fantastic in so many ways. In the last presentation, I was talking about how coal and oil and gas are on their way out. I'm convinced that's what's going to happen. I suggest you look at that one, because it will make this, what I'm saying now, you will get, I see. Because solar energy is coming. Solar is fire up in the air, up in the skies, coming down through air, and we can harness it and use it. And it's going to be much cheaper and much cleaner and much easier. And it's also going to be much more individualized. So we can like use, you know, on the roofs. And we know the glass panels. This is changing. I saw just the other day on LinkedIn, beautiful new solar panels that look like clay. They look like clay. So this whole, it's also evolving aesthetically. It's evolving. Good times ahead, absolutely, exciting times ahead. So here we have the Sun together with Pluto, and they were meeting up at 29 degrees Capricorn on the 20th of January this year. And they were triggering this point of the Great Conjunction, and they were moving together into that very point. So they started out together, the exact conjunction was in Capricorn, and then they moved together into 0 degrees of Aquarius. So they were triggering this point and all these things that are happening now. I mean, we all know about AI, we all know that life has changed, and some people are scared because what's going to happen? Is this good? Is this bad? And some people are resisting and they don't want to have anything to do with it, and they hope that it's going to go away. It's going nowhere, let me tell you. But what I want just to show you here is that it can have a very positive effect for the air signs, which is trines. That's why I made them blue. These are trines. So if you have important points in air, while Pluto is moving through under these 20 years, it will affect you in different, most likely, positive ways. And when I say positive, I do not mean, I mean that it will have a positive effect in the long run, because Pluto is a slow planet. So it might start off like, ooh, which is what I'm feeling. But I'm very optimistic about how it's relating to my Gemini Sun and Mercury. But then we have the red circles, and those are the squares, and the squares are challenging. So these, and that's not bad either. It's just that there are challenges here, and if you have points and planets within Aquarius, within Taurus, Leo, and or Scorpio, those could be more challenging angles, and it's good to be able to prepare. That is I have been able to prepare because I have seen things in my chart there, so this is gonna happen. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know something's gonna happen. How can I prepare? Which has been extremely helpful. So just so you know, when you look into your own chart, that there are like ways that it can turn out in a more optimistic way, and then there are like challenges that you can probably count on. And I have both. I can see in my chart that I have both. And we all have both, more or less. That's just how life works. So next time, because we're on our way to the end here of this presentation, I will talk about the retrogrades of 2025, which are massive, massive. Again, watch the previous one, the Pivotal 2025. It's going to be on Tuesday, December 3rd at 12 noon. I have not created the presentation yet, so I cannot give you the exact link so you can apply or attend. But this is the day, so you can mark that right away. It's Tuesday, December 3rd, and I will talk about the retrogrades and how they go and deal with the water signs, and especially Pisces. So if you have a lot of Piscean energy in your chart, this is for you for sure. If you have a lot of water in your chart, this is absolutely for you. I have a lot of water in my chart. So it's going to be, in so many ways, it's going to be a pivotal year. And because it's moving first into Aries, which is fire, and then it moves back, that's the retrograde, into Pisces, and then it moves forward again. So it's a movement that we cannot avoid. It's going to go back and forth like this, and many, many times, in many different ways. Yeah, what can I say? Be there. And as I mentioned, it is about what is ending for you, which is Pisces, because Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. The planets have gone through from Aries all the way around, and when they come to Pisces, that's the end. this is the final stop. So when it's going back and forth, it's a question of what is ending, how do you need to end it, what have you not looked into that needs to end, that is ending, liking it or not, and what is ignited. And I told you in last week that make intentions. What are your intentions for the coming year? And I gave you a date of when it's good to do that. So the start of this year, 2025, is really about how do you want to plan what's coming up? How can you take responsibility for what you know now, since you have watched this and also will watch the next one? So my Black Friday offer is, I currently have a price of $9.97, and I do not do one-off readings. I create a process with you. We meet 3 times. We have first we have like a let's meet and see what's going on and what do you actually want, and then we have 3 times, and I will also give you homework. I have been a therapist excuse me, a therapist and a coach for 30 years. And this thing of doing one-off readings, I realized when I had my first reading that I just felt completely abandoned. And it's like, what do I do with this now? Luckily, I was studying astrology. So I, after a while, understood, when I re-listened, now I understand what he's talking about. But that is, even if you have a recording, if you don't understand like the aspects and the modalities and all of that, it's difficult to absorb. So this is what I want to do with this. I want to create something that you can really use, even if you're not an astrologer or even if you don't study astrology. So we have enough time also for you to think through what has been gone through in the previous session, and so you can ask questions that are based on that. I have spoken to a lot of people that have had one-off readings and say, yeah, it was super interesting and I was really excited and everything, and then I don't know what to do with it. It was like, sort of waste of time and life. It was, So this is what I want to avoid with that. So this offer is $850 Monday to Thursday. That's today, 25th to 28th, and I will only have 5 slots for that. And if those 5 are gone, then I will go up to 900, and that will be until Black Friday is over, and then I go back to 997 over the weekend and the rest of December. But because I have looked into my chart and where it's happening in my chart, this Pluto ingress, I am raising the price to $1,497 for this package. So my suggestion is that you book your call with me. You go to stellascott.com/Cosmic Strategies 2025, or you use the QR code here. Be aware, you must have your exact birth time, so I know where to place your houses, because it's very different if Pluto is in your 1st house, or if Pluto is in your 9th house, or if it's in the 5th house. It will, and all the retrogrades and everything, where will they happen? So that is crucial. So perhaps you need to do some research to find out when you want. No guessing. Or and if your mother says, I think it was no, I know people that they have been like wrong with several hours or even a day, like my own. So that can be challenging because then you don't know. So this is my offer, and if you feel like I really want to know, this sounds like I need some guidance here, then I'm here and I'd love to work with you. Absolutely. So that is it for today. There we go. As I said, book your call. Cosmic Strategies 2025, stellascott.com, and then Cosmic Strategies 2025, and that's my app, Cosmic Strategies, and I will upload this presentation. So the previous presentation is already on the app. On the first slide you can see, I just put it says get the app, and that's the app, Cosmic Strategies. I just want to finish off with saying what I usually say, which is there's nothing wrong with you. There's never been anything wrong with you, and there never will be. Even if you feel, oh my God, I have to fix this and I have to fix that. Sure, that is a call from your inside that there is more of you, but it's not the same thing as there is something wrong with you. Be royal. It's your birthright. Thank you for being here with me today. I hope to see you on Tuesday, the 3rd of December. And until then,